In this video, we're going to talk about how being nice can reduce your excitement for life, reduce your attractiveness, reduce your happiness and chance of success, and most importantly, what you can and should do instead. I am a recovering nice guy. I've always been the kind of person to try and get along with everybody, the kind of person to try and make friends with everybody, and it turns out that that is a big problem. See, for the longest time, I thought that my being a nice person, a good person, was a positive characteristic, until a single experience flipped a switch in my head and changed the way that I saw things. I was working in a restaurant as a waiter and I was dating one of the bartenders, and after my shift one day I went down and sat at the bar rail so I could talk to my girlfriend. And one of the other bartenders there mentioned that a guy had come up and started talking to her and kept hitting on her, and no matter how much she tried to ignore him, he would not leave her alone. The guy kept bothering my girlfriend, kept asking her out, wouldn't leave her alone, and even though she told him she had a boyfriend, he was persistent. All night, I'd been working in a room maybe 50 feet away, so I asked my girlfriend, I said, well, why didn't you just come tell me? I could have totally got rid of that guy. And this is what changed my perspective. She said, well, I thought about it, but you're just too nice. She and her friend, the other bartender, went on to say that they had considered asking other guys who worked at the restaurant to pretend to be her boyfriend to get rid of the guy, but concluded that most of them were too nice too, and so they just waited till the guy left. And that was the first time that it really hit me, and it sunk in that my niceness meant that my girlfriend did not believe that I could stand up to somebody else for her. And in a way, she was right. It turns out not only when you're nice can you not stand up for other people, but you also can't even stand up for yourself. A few weeks later, our relationship was in a downward spiral, only accelerated by my continued efforts to be nice. Our relationship fell apart, and when it was over, I was confused. I'd done everything I could to support her, to make her happy, to put her needs first, and it had only made things worse, and I didn't understand why. And then I thought about that phrase, too nice. So let's talk about why niceness is not a virtue like many people think it is and is actually a bad thing. And to do that, firstly, we're going to need to define what we're talking about when we say niceness. And by niceness, I mean agreeable or pleasing or polite. The kind of person who tries to get along with others, puts other people first, tries to be a good person. And if you listen to that and think, that sounds pretty normal, what's wrong with that? Then pay close attention, because you might be making the very same mistakes that I used to. The problem is in the trying, because we have to ask ourselves if we're the kind of person who's always trying to be agreeable or polite or pleasing or trying to be a good person, why are we trying? What's in it for us? The reason is obvious. Nice people want people to think highly of them. They want people to like them. They want people to think they are a good person. But why? And this is where the cracks in niceness begin to appear. You start to see the flaws in the illusion that niceness is a good thing. Nice people typically want everybody to like them and approve of them and accept them because they base their internal sense of self-worth on what everybody else thinks of them. As a recovering nice guy, I used to value other people's opinions of me just about as much as I valued my own opinion of myself. And this is why nice people will say yes to things that they don't want to do, why they will try to avoid conflict as much as possible, while they'll be generally agreeable and polite and good, not necessarily because they are a good person, but because they think that if people think they are a good person, those other people will give the nice person what the nice person wants. Have you spotted the flaw in the nice person's logic? It relies on this unspoken contract. If I try to meet their needs, then they'll try to meet my needs. This non-agreement is the number one reason why nice people will often find themselves confused, hurt, and angry in life, because it goes wrong, somewhat obviously, because nobody actually agrees to it. You see, when I did everything in my power to make that ex-girlfriend happy, to support her, to put her needs first, I wasn't actually doing it for her. I thought I was, but I wasn't. I was frantically trying to do anything I could to make her happy on the underlying assumption that then we would stay together and I would get my own emotional needs met. Even though from an external perspective it might look like I was doing everything for her, I was actually doing it for me. And that is a huge problem. And this is why nice people are sometimes referred to as needy. Not because they have needs, but Actually, quite the opposite. It's because they are afraid to express their needs. So instead, they continue to be nicer and nicer and nicer, doing more and more and more for the other person with the unspoken expectation that that other person should do something for them in return. But they almost never specify what it is unless they're angry that that need hasn't been met and they're lashing out for the other person not having essentially read their mind. Because they don't specify what they want or need, it comes across as being needy because there is a smothering energy of I want something from you, because expressing your needs in an open, honest way requires vulnerability and authenticity and opens you up to the potential of rejection. Rejection which is devastating to a nice person who needs the approval of somebody else in order to feel good about themselves. So, because they are too afraid to express their own needs, the nice person relies on that unspoken contract. And that is the dark truth about acting pleasing, agreeable, or polite. Being nice. It is a form of manipulation. It's a way of trying to control somebody else's behavior, to influence the way they feel about, think about, or how they act towards you. Being nice is not about the other person's needs, and it's not about being a good person. It's not about what they need from you, it's about what you, the nice person, wants from them. Now, if this all sounds pretty rough to the nice guys and girls out there, don't fret too much, because there is a way forward, there is a potential solution, and you don't have to be a complete jerk either. But you see, niceness is merely a symptom of a deeper problem. And when we start to work on that deeper problem, we can solve not only our niceness, but also a lot of other underlying problems that we might not even be aware of. So how do we end up this way? Well, niceness, like so many other lovely problems, forms in our childhood. When we're children, we obviously have a pretty narrow worldview. Our life experience and understanding of things is fairly minimal. Kids are very egocentric. They kind of assume everything happens as a result of what they're doing. The whole world revolves around them. So maybe when you're a baby or a toddler, your exhausted parent comes and picks you up and doesn't smile the way they always have before every time they've looked at you for your short life. They might just be exhausted, having a bad day, not really thinking about it, but as that egocentric kid, we start to think, why doesn't mom love me anymore? What did I do wrong? Did I make the wrong face? Did I make the wrong sound? What did I do? Because we assume the entire world revolves around us, obviously our parents' lack of attention and not giving us that smile or the hug they normally would means we had to have done something wrong. And now we're not getting our needs met. And as completely warped as this viewpoint might be, kids come up with a genius strategy to cope with it. I'll just be perfect. If I never do anything wrong and never show any flaws and only ever be good and never be bad, then everybody will love me always and they'll always meet my needs. This'll totally work. You see the connection? It is the groundwork for that mental pattern. If I never show any flaws, if I never start any conflict, if I always make everybody happy, if I'm always a good person, if I'm nice, then everybody will love me and accept me and give me what I need from them. And with that pattern imprinted in our minds, we get older and do the same things over and over, assuming that it will work in every area of life. Except, it doesn't. And that is why I was so confused when things didn't go well in that relationship. I thought that if I did everything I could to make things perfect, to make the girl happy, to be perfect, then surely she would want to be with me, right? Right? Wrong, as it turns out. Because that type of behavior projects an extreme lack of confidence. It's the kind of behavior that shows you care more about the other person than you do about yourself. And that's how nice people often are in relationships, because they don't think they can meet their own needs. But as much as we tend to romanticize that kind of relationship in film and media, it is a recipe for a codependent nightmare. You cannot have a romantic partner who is more important to you than yourself. If you do, it's because you believe that they are the only person who can meet your needs, which means it's actually still about you. So, how do we stop being nice without being a jerk? How do we take back control of our lives and stand up for ourselves Well, step one, acknowledge that you are the main character. And if you are a nice person watching this, that might sound extremely narcissistic. You'd think, the main character? Wow, I can't say that. But if you are a nice person, I want you to say this with me. I am the main character of my life. You are not the main character of everybody's life. That is the definition, or at least my definition, of narcissism. The goal of this is not that you are the center of everybody's world, but you ought to be the center of your own world. You are the hero of your own story and the main character of your own adventure. See, when we are being nice, what we're actually doing is we are going around giving everybody else in our life the power to decide whether we are good or not. We approach people with the attitude of, please give me your approval, please. And if they say no, you have just shot yourself in the foot. Giving that power away is the problem. We give other people the power to disapprove of us and then hope that they don't. Which is kind of stupid if you think about it. Decide a few people, probably family, friends, maybe a good mentor, who you like. Not who you want to like you, but who you like and think are smart or wise or something that you aspire to be more like. Value those people's opinions of you. Make those people your supporting cast. Everybody else is a background character. Most of them are nameless extras. That does not mean you should be an asshole to them, not at all. But it does mean you cannot value the opinion of the random taxi driver extra more than you value your own opinion. That behavior is born out of trying to fill that inner void, but the hole you're trying to fill isn't there. And so, of course it can't be filled. The reason we think that hole exists is because of that childhood pattern playing on repeat over and over and over. And we have internalized the thought process that the only way for us to get our needs met is by meeting the needs of other people. To be fair, as an infant, that was true. But it's not anymore. But now, fully grown nice people are still repeating that same pattern over and over, trying to manipulate their environment, the people in it, through their behavior to indirectly meet their own needs that they could now be pursuing themselves. Because they are adults who can now do things that the infant version of them could not do. That internal void that the niceness is trying to fill with validation and love from other people who meet that need to feel accepted isn't real. And this is why at the end of that relationship, I did everything I could to make my girlfriend happy. I tried to give her gifts, I tried to meet every need she had, I tried to make her so happy, because frantically, my little childhood brain pattern was repeating over and over, doing the only thing I knew how to get my own needs met, which I was afraid if we broke up would go unmet. Be nice, be perfect, make her happy, make her the main character in your life, is what the childhood pattern told me, and then she'll make you the main character in her life. This is the very type of behavior that projects that concentrated, extremely needy energy we talked about earlier. Because even though on the outside it seemed like I was doing everything for her, I was actually doing it for me. And even if neither of us consciously realized what was going on an energetic level you can feel it. If anybody's ever tried to sell you something, and they're buttering you up and being all nice and polite in a sales pitch, but you know they're gonna ask you for something, and you start to just feel that internal resentment and like you just want to get out of there and you don't want to be in that conversation. That is the kind of energy that intense niceness projects when it is directed at getting somebody's needs met. It's the energy of, I want something from you even though I'm giving you something. And when people feel that, they resist it. Rightfully so. It feels weird. And completely unintentionally, I did not realize I was doing this at the time. I followed that childhood pattern over and over. That was the level of energy that I was projecting at that ex-girlfriend. And no wonder things fell apart. That deep down childhood belief system was convinced that I needed her in my life to be happy. But here's the funny thing about nice people and needing other people's validation. It doesn't work. No matter how often I got the things I wanted as a nice guy, when I had lots of friends or when I was in a long-term relationship, getting tons of validation, I never felt any better about myself. It lasted a day or two, and then I would feel like I needed another hit. It was almost like It's like a drug addiction. And just like a drug addiction, the effects weaken over time. Once a certain person starts to like you, their validation stops meaning as much to the nice person. Nice people need to continually chase those larger and larger hits of validation. There's another problem too. The belief that you cannot fulfill your own needs in life kills your desire to push through and pursue your passions in life. For the longest time, I wanted to travel and start a YouTube channel, and I kept procrastinating it and putting it off because I didn't feel ready and I didn't feel worthy and I didn't feel good enough. And I guess I was waiting for some magical YouTube fairy to come bless me and tell me, hey, you're good enough. Go for it, man. And then I would just suddenly feel ready. Guess what? It'll never fucking happen. And here's the crazier thing. Every time somebody told me that I was good at something, that my photography was good, or my video skills were good, or I was good with people, or I was whatever, I didn't believe them. I thought they were just being nice. How ironic that even if you are a nice person, you don't trust people who you think are just being nice. Because maybe subconsciously, we all know it's a form of manipulation. But that internal pattern that said I can't meet my own needs, that there's some emptiness inside that I need other people to fill, that becomes a self-sustaining process. You end up getting the validation you think you want, and it feels hollow. It doesn't fill the hole because the hole isn't actually there. The hole is in your thought process. Because of some flawed circuitry that made me feel like I had no value, I would seek the approval and other people to value me, but when they did value me, it didn't make a difference because the thought process still existed. The hole can't be filled because the hole doesn't exist. When people gave me the validation or gave me the approval, it helped for like a day. If that. So, how do you start to value yourself? Well, step one, start stepping into that star role. Repeat, I am the main character. Step two, just be yourself. Now, I know this is like the most generic self-help advice of all time, but stay with me. Be authentic and real. Certainly be the best version of yourself. Strive to be courageous and honest and do the best you can in life. Authenticity is not an excuse to be an asshole. But it's okay to not be perfect. You're not perfect, so stop pretending to be. If you're a nice person and you feel like you have that inner void, you're also not broken, so stop acting like you are. And other people aren't more valuable than you, so stop acting like they are. As a recovering nice person, I used to think that I was being myself, but I was trying to be an artificially perfect version of myself with no flaws who everybody always liked and was happy, and I thought that if that's who I was, then people would like me. But creating a version of yourself that people like and then being yourself is still a form of manipulation and being nice. Remember, you are the main character of your life, and main characters aren't interesting if they're perfect. They are interesting because of their flaws and their struggles and their humanity. That's why people like them. Most people don't want you to be perfect. They want you to be real. Step three, be kind. Now, for the nice people among you who've been watching this and thinking, well, geez, can I never do anything nice again? Do I have to be a jerk? What am I supposed to do? This is your answer. Kindness is the non-toxic alternative to niceness. Whereas niceness is actually about what we want from somebody, kindness really is about them. Kindness is internally driven. The reward is the sense of satisfaction you get from doing a good thing, not the validation or approval or sense of self-worth you hope to get from other people's response or hearing about the nice thing you did. Kindness comes from within, not from without. The most important thing to remember is that no matter how much you might crave that approval or that validation, remember, it's just like a drug. It's a short-term hit that never fills the bottomless pit that it is attempting to fill. So when you start to catch yourself being polite or pleasing or agreeable when you don't actually want to be, question what is making you act that way. You are the main character of your life, and you should act like it. You should stop relying on the approval and validation of the background characters to determine how you feel about yourself. We have to start to question those old patterns that are running on autopilot and ask whether they are empowering us or disempowering us. And niceness disempowers us. We constantly give away our power to other people and then hope that they give some of theirs to us in return. And doing that is great if you're down to be frustrated or subjugated or taken advantage of, or if you enjoy constantly manipulating people or pushing away romantic partners or building toxic codependent relationships instead, then by all means, stick with it. Niceness is great. But if you want to live life in the sun, confident and unashamed of your flaws, develop the ability to stand up for yourself, and maybe even engage in a little bit of confrontation from time to time, then we need to shed the niceness and embrace kindness as a substitute. It's just like margarine, it's fine. When we are kind and genuine and real, we interact with people on a different level. A level that will make some people respect us and some people dislike us. But we have to ask ourselves, if being real makes that person dislike us, do we really care if they like us anyway? Because when you are the main character of your own life and you stand up for yourself and you are confident and you are kind, that is attractive to other genuine people. It's the acting like you're broken and need to be perfect in order to hide it that makes people uneasy. It makes them wonder what the nice person is trying to hide. Everybody is just another human. Nobody is more worthy than you or less worthy than you. Nobody is better, nobody is worse. We're all kinda just people. And all too often, nice people are willing to grovel and subjugate themselves to make somebody else happy on the assumption that that person's validation is somehow worth it. But trust me, it isn't. Be the main character of your life. Be the hero of your own story. Live life authentically and be a real person. Don't give too much power to the background characters, but also be kind to them. And above all else, pursue in life what makes you happy, what makes you feel good about you, not what you hope will make other people feel good about you. And if you're wondering how you can pursue what you want to do in life and you feel a little bit lost, then you want to check out this video right here where I show you how to do that. Thanks for watching. Check that out. See you next week. Bye.